Welcome to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. This is Peggy Meyer. Today's guest is Leslie Shreve. Leslie is a workload management and efficiency expert and founder and CEO of Productive Day and the creator of Taskology, the science of getting things done, a unique and all-encompassing system for workload management and productivity that includes management of task, time, email, information, and more. Leslie works with corporate executives and professionals to help them increase efficiency and productivity by up to 300% in as little as 4 weeks. And they gain 1 to 2 hours back in their workday every day. And they spend up to 50% less time in their email box. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great? And they get their email box back to zero. And they reduce stress up to 90%. So welcome to the podcast, Leslie.
Thank you, Peggy. It's good to be back today.
Yes, and I just wanted to remind the listeners out there, Leslie was on almost a year ago. So if you want to search back to October 4th of 2024, Leslie was here talking about her Taskology system and just all the little kind of details of how she helps people kind of, increase productivity and manage their workload. So go back and listen to that episode. But today you're going to share something a little bit new that you have going on with the listeners. But, if they haven't, oh, they don't know who you are. They don't remember a year ago because, like, I couldn't probably remember unless I went back and
Mhm.
looked at it. So,
Right.
can you just start by sharing just
Yeah,
a little bit about you and your journey and how
sure.
it's led to where you are today?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks, Peggy. So I'm over here in Baltimore, Maryland. We just celebrated 22 years in business last week, and
Wow.
we're excited about that because we feel like we're just sort of getting started. So it's been years, it's been decades, but every year brings new things, new fun things, new learning, new training, new expansion, new lessons, lots of lessons,
Yes.
because sometimes I suffer from the same things that all my clients do. Like we
Mhm.
never have enough time to do the things we're really excited about doing.
Yeah.
And you have to just pick and choose,
Yeah.
and it's easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
So over here, I work with folks nationally. We've got programs that people internationally have taken
Mhm.
advantage of. So I only see that expanding as
Mhm.
we roll out one of our big programs, which we'd like to do this fall,
Mhm.
called the Productive Day Powerhouse, which is
Mhm.
currently up and running and ready for enrollment, in which a person can learn the entire Taskology system. So as you said in the intro, it
Mhm.
encompasses an entire workday: task management, time management, email management,
Mhm.
information management. It's all the things, because too many people who struggle to make progress in their workday say, oh, this email, I've got to find a solution for this. And then they're
Mhm.
off and running looking for an email solution. But that's not the only thing to pay attention to in your
Right.
workday. It's not just about email. Similarly, somebody could say, well, I've got to get a grip on my tasks. I'm going to go get a planner, but the fancy pants planner isn't going to do it either. So, these verticals in our day
Mhm.
will actually only slow you down because you might feel like you're being productive or effective in tackling that one vertical, but
Mhm.
everything else is falling apart.
Yeah.
And it's all tied together. So that's one of the misnomers is, it's like the whole day. It's not just that one piece.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why I do what I do. I'm passionate about bringing an entirely new workday to my clients, one that's easier, more
Mhm.
efficient, more effective, gives them more productivity and progress and a heck of a lot less stress.
Yeah.
So there
Well,
we go.
amen. I like need all of that. I think we all do, right? And we can apply these things not just to like at work, but in our lives, because we all have personal email, we all have tasks, we all have that. If we, we can just carry that system. It's not much different. Like
No.
we have to do it at work to be more efficient and productive, but it also can carry over into home.
Yeah, it
So
can. It
this
can.
is so,
Correct.
so important. So, um, can you just like what intrigued me a little is like, oh, you learned a lot of lessons. Is there, a few that you could pull out that kind of relate to what you're doing right now and also your, new productive day powerhouse that's is up and running, but you're gonna really put it out there this fall.
Right. And I also will mention that product that is the other reason why we're talking today is my
Hmm.
new, sort of the first step that people can take, kind of a
Yeah.
gateway, opening into the whole Taskology system. Um, Lessons learned. Oh my gosh. So if we reach back, like way, way back, I was in corporate for 13 years before starting Productive Day in 2003. So if I reach way back, before technology was everything that it is today,
Hmm.
back then in the 90s, that's when Microsoft Outlook was just kind of getting going, in the corporate world. And so they didn't really have a task list in the beginning. So by the time I was in, the late 90s or even the early 2000s, when I had my last corporate job out of the whole 13 years,
Hmm.
the company handed me a Franklin Covey planner, and I was in sort of like a leadership space, and everybody gets a Franklin Covey planner. And I thought, boy, have I arrived. Like, this is it. Wow, I love this job. So I was still using that planner back in 2000 because I thought I was just, I was rocking and rolling. And so, I'd write my to-do list on the pages. And of course, if you didn't get those done, you'd have to flip the page and write it again. So what a huge waste of time, but
Yeah.
it's no different than any other piece of paper out there that someone might
Hmm.
grab, like a legal
Hmm.
pad or a steno pad or a notebook.
Right.
Anytime we're writing and rewriting to-do lists is just a huge waste of time. Not only that, but if you're not getting a bird's eye view of everything that's on your plate, which I
Yeah.
know sounds overwhelming to just about everybody on the planet until they
Mhm.
understand what Taskology is or can do for you,
Mhm.
it's a big difference between a to-do list, or even if we called it a task list, and a task system.
Mm.
So I just got off a call with a client right before this recording,
Uh-huh.
and we had this exact conversation. She needed a refresher because we've actually been working together a month or two. And she was looking at something in email, which, by the way, email management is really task management in disguise. And we were talking about the task that came from that email, what she needed to do next, because there's
Mhm.
no sense in letting it stare at you, day after day after
Right.
day in the inbox when really you can get it out of there,
Mhm.
articulate exactly what you need to do. And if you don't have to do it now, well, you'll see it later wherever you put your target date of action on the list. So she said, Leslie, I need to do this, this, and this, but I don't need to do it anytime soon. And she was going to leave it there. And I said, no, Mary, you can't do that. We need to say exactly what you said, get it on the Taskology task list, get this email out of the inbox. You'll have it perfectly articulated so that when you do this next Tuesday, you'll be rocking and rolling. You can move right forward, get into fast action.
Yeah.
So, the idea of, well, I don't have to, it's stuff I have to do today. And if
Mhm.
it's later next week, next month, I don't need to think about it. It's like, who would take a Franklin Covey planner and turn to the page? I think it's rare that people might turn to a page in December because it's in
Right.
August right now and go, yeah, I need to remember to do that. If they do, that's great, but still not the best system, but also not likely to happen, right? Everybody's thinking today or this week. It's
Mhm.
the hot, it's the urgent, right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, sure, as time progressed and I got away from the Franklin Covey planner, of course, when I started my business, that's when Blackberries were out,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
and all of that. So everybody was kind of moving towards that digital approach, but it still took me a while to,
Mhm.
as I started teaching clients after I started the business, to teach the Taskology task list in the digital format. So lesson learned, even I had to get away from paper because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't keep wasting my time.
Right.
Another good one was e-documents in the hard drive. You know how people look and look and look and look and
Yeah.
look and
Yeah.
God, I know I have it, but I
Yeah.
can't find it. And so they're losing so much time, even 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or they give up and then they can't finish that task or they
Yeah.
can't send that email. And then they have like egg on their face because they're like, God, John, I'm sorry, I didn't find that attack. Can you send that to me again?
Right.
They have to ask for it again because they can't find it. So
Mhm.
back in the corporate days, I remember my boss coming to me, and at the time I was in my mid 30s, and he said, I'm putting you in charge of cleaning up the hard drive for our department, which would be, like the M drive or the J drive or
Yeah.
whatever. And you should have seen the look on my face. It was like deer in the headlights. Like, what? You want me to do what now?
Yeah.
And I said, I sat on that for like a day or two, and I just started spinning. And then I finally went back to him and I'm like, I can't do that. And that's a huge part of what I teach now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that was like, 30 years ago when he asked me to do that. But it is essential that you get the hard drive in such a position that you know exactly where to go to find what you need, because the categorization there is so important. You
Yeah.
just can't chuck it all on your computer desktop, which I didn't. I had my own little system within that drive, but he wanted me to
Mhm.
tackle the whole thing. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
crap, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And now it's something I teach. But I think I stepped back from it. I
Mhm.
used to, on my
Mhm.
desk, I'd have a pending pile or things I was waiting for. And that was paper back then. It was on the
Yeah.
corner of my desk. And so
Right.
what I would do is I would flip through it every single day and go, okay, who
Mm.
haven't I heard from? What am I
Mhm.
waiting for? Did I get it yet? Another waste of time. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
So totally get away from that, because now we take those and we say, listen, I say a pending item, something you're waiting for from somebody else really
Mhm.
turns back into action for you. It's always going to be action until it's
Yeah.
done. And
Yeah.
so people are like, well, how is that action? I'm waiting on somebody else. Well, the truth is, what you want to do on your task list is name it the action step that you'll take if you don't get what you expect. So let's say you
Oh,
call someone today, you call Joe, because Joe has something he wants to add to the agenda for the next management meeting. And you call Joe and you're like, I want to ask him, what does he want to add? Well, you didn't get him. You got his voicemail. Okay, so you leave the voicemail. Are you done? No,
no.
you're not. You have to wait for him to call you back. So that task stays on the task list, but you say, okay, how many days am I going to let go by? And I
Hmm.
don't hear from him before I'll take action again.
Right.
And what will I do? Will I call him again or will I just shoot him an email? Like you want to think about what action am I going to take and
Hmm.
when am I going to take it? So you might say, well, I'll give him a couple days. We have plenty of time. It's a monthly meeting. I'll give him till Friday. And let's say that's 3 days from now.
Yeah.
So that task on the task list, because everything in our task list gets an action date, you just change the action date. So it's not a due date, DUE, it's a due
Yeah.
date. Oh, so we make it Friday's date, which I don't know what that is right now. Is it 8? I don't know, 16 or
Yeah.
something. And you make sure that the task is still phrased as an
Mhm.
action step. You don't change it to say, I'm waiting for Joe to do this. No, you say, email Joe to get his agenda item for the next management meeting. It's basically going to be the same original task.
Yeah.
You're just going to change the date to say, email him, and you throw in the word again if
Yeah.
I don't hear from him, something like that.
Right.
And then you just
Right.
let it drop in the list and it disappears and then it's off your plate and out of your hair and it's going to turn back into action if he doesn't get
Mhm.
back to you. If he does, great, go grab the task and move it forward. But if he doesn't, you'll see it on Friday and go, oh yeah, that's right. And then you never lose control of those tasks, right? So no
Mhm.
need to have the pending pile or the waiting for file. Like I had that too, but we don't have
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah.
Just a few examples.
Right, right. And really what comes to my mind is just like, oh my gosh, yes, guilty. I think we all are at some point, like we're not doing things, we're redoing things. And we're taking up a lot of energy in our brains by either one trying to remember that or knowing there's this pile of things that is still to do, but still kind of waiting on, and we haven't really decided when exactly, and and we don't want to forget. And I mean, it's just like the brain power of all of that is exhausting. And
Creates a lot
so,
of head trash.
oh, it does. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I could see myself doing all these things. And I know that there are little things that we can all do to improve our productivity, to like decrease the decision fatigue. I mean, it's just like you touch it once and you're basically done with it until it comes up again.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so,
Because, yeah, remember the old days where they would say, and I think a lot of people still quote this, the touch it once rule
yeah.
really isn't about, and that was when we were all paper intensive,
Mhm.
back in the day, but I do
Mhm.
still hear people talk about that. They're
Yeah.
so proud of themselves. They're like, oh yeah, I only touch it once. But the truth is with that one, that's great for paper, which a lot of people don't have anymore, but a lot of people do. Depends on your
Right.
industry and your job. So yeah, touch it once. That's great if you could file it, toss it, give it to somebody else maybe. But really, what's going to happen is you will touch something multiple times if
Mhm.
it is a task, and especially if it's going to turn into a follow up. You will
Right.
touch it again and again and again, and so on and so forth. And so, in the system that I created, you have a task system that allows you to not only take that first action step, but
Mhm.
then take future action steps because excuse me, that step is going to turn into, it's going to morph into the
Yeah.
next and the next and the next because things do live on. They're not all one and done. So you will
Right.
touch that material, whether it's an e-document in the hard drive or an email over in an
Mhm.
email folder or whatever, you will touch it again. It's not as cut and dry. I tell people it's about decision making, like what you've just said. It's spot
Mhm.
on. Touch it once is far less important than when you're touching it, make a decision. And that
Yes.
decision, no matter what, or, whatever the item is, the
Mhm.
decision is the most important thing. Like when it shows up in the inbox, okay, we need to
Mhm.
decide.
Yeah.
Keep it, don't keep it, junk, file it, put it in the hard drive. Is it contact for contact system? Is it a
Mhm.
task that needs to go on the task list? So
Yeah.
what you want to do is never like leave that, like don't
Yeah.
touch it and leave it behind because
Right.
you see it
Right.
again and then you have to go all through it again. Like, okay, let me read it again. Let me decide what
Yeah.
this is. Okay, what do I
Yeah.
need to do? So I do turn people into decision-making ninjas because that is the driver of
Yeah.
moving things forward. That's the driver of progress is make a decision. So I love that
Yeah.
you brought that up.
Yeah, because I feel like everybody, the most draining thing is that point of being indecisive, is just it's out there in la la land, and you're gonna have to reel it in at some point, but it is like, okay, what do I need to do? When do I need to do it? You know, then move it. Move
Right. And
it.
I think decision-making fatigue is real. Our
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex gets worn out every single day. And the
Mhm.
more exhausted we become, the earliest, earlier in the day, the less juice we have to
Mhm.
make decisions about the emails that are pouring in or the thing that, your boss puts on the desk and says, do it now,
Right.
or do it
Right.
tomorrow. It's just, yeah, you're right. It's exhausting. And so that's why it's so essential to have systems in your day that support you and make
Mhm.
it easier to make
Yeah.
those decisions so that you can dispense with things a lot faster.
Mhm.
Like, I think the two biggest holdups are decision making, like, do I need it? Do I not need it? That's going
Mhm.
to be the first stumbling block.
Yeah.
But most people are pretty good about that, or I'd say at least
Yeah.
50% of the people, because I do still get that question a lot. Leslie, I'm not sure if I need this, and we need to talk that out. So let's say somebody's really fast with that. Yep, I know I need it. Okay, then the second stumbling block is, what do I do with it? Where
Yeah.
do I put it? So those
Mhm.
are the systems that I'm talking about that
Mhm.
allow people to just move so much faster.
Yeah.
And they know there's a place for that. They know that it
Mhm.
goes right there. It's almost like when you're, and I never had kids, but I was a kid once. The box that has the shapes in it. It's a hollow
Oh
box. It's
yeah.
got
Yeah.
stars and
Yep.
moons, and
Yep.
okay. And you have the star in your hand. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that fits in that hole. It matches. That's the
Yeah.
star. And it gives you a place to put things. It's that
Mhm.
feeling of matching up this information, like, oh, that's contact information. I'm going to put that in contacts.
Mhm.
Most people, though, are missing a really suitable, reliable task list or task system where
Yeah.
they know, oh, that's the only one I should have. That's just where it goes. I
Right.
know it goes there.
Right.
Email folders can be overwhelming because, yeah, you want to put it in an email folder, but now which one, and do I need a subfolder, and how many folders is right? And I mean, it just gets overwhelming for people.
It does.
So yeah, and that's what slows people down in the workday. So that's one
Mhm.
of our main concerns here at Productive Day is everybody feels like they're slogging through molasses and they're like, I'm
Right.
trying to get this project done, or I'm merely trying to finish this task or send this email. And I
Mhm.
keep getting interrupted, and then I'm distracted, and then I can't find the information I need. And then I'm not sure how to make decisions on all that other stuff. So I'm going to let that pile up. And then you feel like your work is never done.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Uh,
It's exhausting even talking about it. It's
it
just
is exhausting. I'm listening to you and I'm like, no, no, shut it off. I don't want to do it.
right. This is
But
why we have
yeah.
Taskology. Yes.
Yes, yes. And so I want you to move forward. Like, you kind of alluded to, some new stuff coming
Mhm.
up this fall. Can you just like share more about that and how, because it's like, okay, you've already overwhelmed me. I know that I need some help, so I know the listeners are probably hearing and seeing and just saying the same thing.
Right.
But, and you kind of alluded to like, well, that's kind of like all of an introduction to all of the Taskology. Can you kind of just
Yeah.
share some more about that?
Sure, sure. So for the whole time in these 22 years, I've been doing private consulting with executives, business owners, C-suite, middle management, EVPs, all the different positions in corporate and small
Mhm.
business owners. And so I don't know, it was a long time ago, way long ago, in 2008, I think I started doing a team training approach for companies. It was called Taskology for Teams. We still do it. It wasn't
Mhm.
called that. It is called that. So Taskology for Teams is a private corporate training program that's 90 days. I'll be running two this fall right now. I got one going and one starting in September. So in the 90-day program, they learn all of Taskology with a video series that I created years ago, and I revised it during the pandemic year because, it was a little quieter.
Yep.
So we're actually on the fifth edition, best of the best, and it's there's only 13 videos. They're all an average of 40 minutes apiece, and it comes with weekly group coaching. So what I did was we wanted to roll this out to the public because
Mhm.
that's private. That's for
Yeah.
the COO that says, "Hey, now I want my management team to learn Taskology because I love it." And so we
Mhm.
privately have a team training just for that company. This we want to make available to the public so that any professional, any leader, any manager can raise their hands and say, "I want to do that for
Yeah.
me." And
Yeah.
that's the Productive Day Powerhouse. So it
Yeah.
is a powerhouse. You're going to turn your workday into a powerhouse, turn you into a powerhouse so
Mhm.
that you are always taking that energy and using your time so much better than you might be using it today, and not for any other reason than just there hasn't been a system, a workday strategy that allows you to keep moving forward and making progress with predictability. I think it's the
Mhm.
unpredictability in the
Mhm.
day where you're like, well, I know I had this goal. I wanted
Yeah.
to get these 3 or 5 things done, and it's unpredictable whether I'm going to get them done at all.
Yeah.
So we want to have more predictability in the day, and this system where they'll learn. And so that's why I went through the whole thing when I described Taskology for teams. It's the same thing. So same 13 videos, same group coaching approach. Well, we also have a community built into there so that we have a community to support people.
Mhm.
And it's got action guides and resource guides. It's got quizzes. So we want to test your learning. So we have short little quizzes after every video and some fun little motivational videos in there too. And surveys before and after. I think some pretty brief surveys just to
Mhm.
kind of measure where you're starting today so that
Mhm.
we can, once you finish the results survey, tell you how far you came, because you're going to really love it. You're going to love how it gives you that control, that clarity. So
Mhm.
clarity of tasks, control in your workday, confidence that you're spending your time on your most important tasks and priorities, and allow people to really get a grip on everything that's on their plate because we're
Mhm.
pulling all those tasks away from the sources and we're
Yeah.
getting them in one place. The Taskology task list is mission control. And then you're not worried about all the big pads, little pads, spiral pads, steno pads, notebooks, planners, whiteboards, Excel spreadsheets, OneNote, Word document. Oh my God. Like people are like, Leslie, the platforms are just growing.
Yeah.
Now people are sending me tasks in this platform and I have to remember to go look. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is just getting
Yeah.
worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know, because there's so many apps out there to help us,
More than 300.
but
Mm-hmm.
in the end, it just clogs things up and it makes us less effective.
It slows you down,
Yes,
slows you down. Right.
because you have
So
to remember all these other places.
yeah, and people are trying to keep tasks in their memory anyway. So
Yeah.
remembering tasks and then remembering places to look is just slowing people down. And then they feel heavy and
Hmm.
weighed down and so tired. And then by the
Hmm.
time they get home, you would think they're like, oh, now I'm free. I get to have some free time. No, no, they're trying to catch up on tasks, trying to catch up on email. Spouses are like, I never get to see you.
Hmm.
Kids are like, will you play with me? No, it's a pull and tug every single
Hmm.
day.
Yeah.
And I feel for people. That's why it's so important to me to share this system with people so that they can have the time and the freedom to not
Hmm.
only enjoy their work again, because so many people are demotivated, but
Hmm.
enjoy their lives, a
Yeah.
life with less
Yeah.
stress, I like to say.
Yeah.
So that, of course, is always available. It's like a $6,000 value that we're starting at 3,500 to make sure that people just enroll, like just don't wait another day doing
Yeah.
things that don't work.
Right.
Life is too short.
Yeah.
So that's open enrollment all the time. We've not launched it, but it's there, so we're going to make an effort soon. But get on our list, get on our list at productiveday.com and you'll get all those notices. But the other thing that we've been working on, the latest thing that we love to offer is this new beginning first step offer, our gateway offering. It's called the
Mhm.
fast action formula for
Mm.
tasks. It's
Okay.
almost like a mini crash course
Oh,
in our
good.
task management component, which I
Yeah.
go into 7 really short videos that total less than 90 minutes, really. It's like an hour and 15 minutes. Plus,
Hmm.
it comes with a full workbook and the formula itself. There are 5 elements to that formula that you get on a PDF separate from the videos.
Hmm.
And it's a fantastic program to just give you that jump start into taking control of all the things that are on your plate right now. And I walk everybody through how to set up your task list, what it needs to look like, what elements to look for. You get the whole formula so you could start creating tasks so you'll
Hmm.
actually do them. It
Oh,
really makes every task small and achievable because that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks that slows people down.
yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
called it the fast action formula because it gets you right into fast action.
Yeah. And I think,
Mhm.
I mean, one thing that clicked in my head is just like sometimes we create these tasks, but we create them like multiple steps in one thing.
Yeah,
Like,
multi-step tasks.
and
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, instead of just the first thing I have to do is email Joe,
right. It's
but it's like I have to like finish this, whole
a big
agenda,
thing.
right?
Right. So a lot
No.
of people are naming their task as a project,
Mm.
but even if they don't think it's a project and they call it, good example would be naming it, send out the agenda for the sales management meeting. And let's say they need to send it out in 3 weeks. Well, they're going to name it that today, but that's actually a multi-step task. That's not actually naming your next action step or even your first action step. That's naming it as the outcome, or the
Mhm.
final step. And
Yeah.
so I have to reel people in and reel people backwards. And I go, okay, that's what you want to do in the end. Like that's your target is you want to be able to just send it out and be done with it. But that's not what you're going to do today because three people need to put stuff on the agenda. You need to actually grab last month's agenda and start, beefing it up for next month. You need to add your own stuff. You need to do X, Y, and Z. Like there's all these things you need to do. So
Right.
you have to, so I get people into the swing of understanding how to think
Right.
about what am I going to do first or
Right.
next? If it's already in
Right.
motion, then what's next? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's the thing that's slowing people down. They'll see that on their legal pad or even in their
Yeah.
planner, on their task app on their phone. And it's a mix of big things and little things and small tasks and reminders
Yeah.
and ideas and then projects and then initiatives. And then, oh my
Yeah.
God. So they look at it and then they just kind of deer in the headlights, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to go for something they can cross out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing that's small and achievable. We all do it. I do it. Oh my God, I do it every day. But luckily, my whole task list is filled with things that are small and achievable. But even with my formula, there's going to be things I go after that I can do fast, and get them off the list. So we're
Right.
all human. My
Yeah.
system makes it so that everything is so much more achievable and
Mhm.
fits into that formula that
Right.
everybody knows exactly how long things are going to take within
Yeah.
reason. And
Yeah.
it isn't a multi-step task or that you have to do it all or you need 2 hours to do that. No, that all goes away. So
Mhm.
yeah, is there going to be something that takes 2 minutes versus 10 minutes? Yes.
Yeah.
Will I want to do the 2 minute thing first? Probably, but there's a limit to how many tasks you can put on a day. So you're not
Yeah.
looking like a digital legal
Right.
pad. It's not,
Yeah.
no, it's everything gets an action date so that things are grouped by the day and it makes it small, like I'm only doing this today or
Yes.
I'm targeting.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to keep changing. So we
Right.
don't want anybody
Right.
to feel trapped by that at all. But
No.
the
No.
system makes it so easy for you to change your mind and shift as
Yeah.
your priorities shift in the day because they
Yeah.
will, and we count
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
And I think, I'm just, my brain is just like, oh yeah, these are some things. So I'm just thinking of a project
Mhm.
that I want to accomplish, which is making a photo book of last year's memories, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. But that's just like complete photo book. That
That's the
is like,
project.
oh,
Right.
that's a project. That's like
So
an
what are
end
you really
goal.
going to do first?
Yeah. But then you have to break it down. It's like, okay, well, I have to get all of the pictures in one location.
In
So
your
that's
heart?
pulling, yeah, my
Yeah.
hard. So, oh, I got to pull stuff or, whatever app or, digital
Right.
service I'm using to create one. I
Right.
have to pull it from this phone and this other person's phone and my
Right.
computer and maybe my other camera. And it's all.
Right.
So we
So
can do that in everyday life. We overwhelm ourselves by thinking, by putting down project and thinking it's a task.
right. So in your case, if you were on the hot seat, I would say, Peggy, which source of photos would you like to go after first to like download it or get it into the place where the thing is going to create the album? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you always like to get them off your phone and get them into your computer first before uploading them into the app that's going to create the album? There's all those things to consider, right? So what
Yeah.
would you do first?
So one, I would first start with my phone because it's in my hands.
Right.
And I think, then it's going through like, going into my phone and going through the year, starting out with, and then selecting
Mhm.
photos.
Right.
And I'm going to just totally upload that into the app on my phone. I don't
There you
want to
go.
like put it on my hard drive and then have to like kick it out. So
Yeah,
I would
see, and it's a question
so I
where
will
other
take a month. I'll
people,
start a month, January.
yeah,
Okay, boom, 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 boom. These are the photos I want.
right,
Okay, dump them into the app, the next month,
exactly.
dump them into the app because sometimes I can't go through the entire year. I'm gonna get like rabbit holed. Like,
Right. So you would go after a category or a type, or, oh, I want to start with holidays, or I just want to look for photos with my kids in them. Or
yeah.
so that's what I talk people through. We
Hmm.
literally get very granular because that's what task management requires. And I will even go a step further and say, this isn't like the end all be all goal is, oh, we have to do task management. No, the end all be all goal is make progress and get stuff done. And the only way to do it is by task management. It's
Hmm.
by managing tasks, not projects, because
Right.
progress doesn't come from managing projects.
No,
It just
no,
does not. And
no.
research, plenty of it shows that is
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I talk people through all these questions because you might want to treat your photos differently than Bob or Mary or
Right.
Joe.
Right.
because they might want them totally off their phone, or
Yeah.
they want to put it in OneDrive or
Yeah.
in Google, right? So I talk through that with everybody because I want to make sure that they have their data where they really, really want it for like the end all be all final.
Right.
And
Right.
then to get the album done, well, then let's talk about the steps because you're right. We could say, well, download or go through all the photos on your phone and you've got like years, right? Overwhelming. We don't want to do
Yes.
that. So we
Yeah.
pick a focus and we know, okay, in 30 minutes or in 45 minutes or in an hour that you might want to protect on your calendar,
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
only going to look for this. And here's the other thing, Peggy, that I'll share that I think your listeners might appreciate is you have to get the scope. What do I mean by that? When it's a blog, an audio, a video, a project like this, you have to just dive in with that teeny tiny task. And just by doing it and taking that step, you'll understand, oh, I can see how long this is going to take.
Mm.
Get the scope of what it is. Is the audio 30 minutes or 4 hours? Is the
Right.
training a half an hour or is it 3 days? Is
Yeah.
this blog article 1,800 words or is it just a blurb? So a lot of people avoid stuff in their inbox or even in physical format where they're like a magazine, a newspaper, whatever. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't looked at that yet. No, get the scope.
Mhm.
Understand, does it contain something you still want to read or listen to or watch
Right.
or whatever,
Right.
and that's for when we need to consume information, like it
Mhm.
lands in the inbox and you're like, crap, so many decisions to make, right? Get the scope. See if
Yeah.
you even like the article titles. And we know that a lot of article titles are clickbait anyway. So, click on it and see if the article was really about what you thought it was going to be about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many of my clients are like, yeah, never mind. I don't need that. I can see what it is now. And they delete it, right? But
Yeah.
if they didn't go in there, they wouldn't get the
Right.
scope. So when
Right.
we're trying to tackle a task or a project, or I should say a multi-step task or project, narrow it down to like the narrowest thing that you can think of. And even when you think you've done that, try to do it again. Go
Yes.
with the
Yes.
narrower, right? Like
Yes.
err on the side of caution. And then go after that thing. Like, let's say I want pictures of my dog. Maybe that's all you focus on in the beginning is I want all the pictures with the kids and the dog. Okay, well, you might only find 5, right? Okay, get the scope. And then you're like, oh, well, that was easy. Let me now focus on just the kids without the dog, right? So getting the scope informs you of
Mhm.
where to go next. What is that next action step,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And what I also heard in that is it kind of gives you an estimation of how much time it's going to take.
That's what I mean. Getting the
Yeah.
scope informs you of, oh, now I can see how big this is or how small this
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. It gives you that next understanding of, okay, now I'm going to set aside only, 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do this
Right.
next one. That's exactly the point. You are right on. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
So
where can people find out more about your fast action
formula.
formula? Yep. I was
Yes.
just like, brain fart for a second. I was
That's
like,
okay.
fast action formula and also
Yeah.
your Productive Day Powerhouse,
Powerhouse.
series
Yeah.
that is. So
They're
yeah.
both on the website on our main page in the nav bar. If you click on Taskology on the navigation bar, you will get both actually. So it's
Nice.
right there. They each have their own sales page, and the fast action formula is only $250.
Yeah.
It's
Easy.
worth so
Yeah.
much more because when I teach it to
Yeah.
my clients,
Yeah.
it is the backbone of
Hmm.
everything they do. Like it's
Hmm.
everything. Yeah.
So
And I
yeah.
wanted to put it in people's hands, make it affordable. You'll even get a 15-minute call with me. We call it a compass call because I'm going to give you direction. And we're going to
Hmm.
figure out where you are on your own map and go, okay, well, this is the direction you need to go. So a 15-minute compass call with me comes with that formula because you're going to have questions. What if this? What about that? How do
Hmm.
I do this? Right. And I want to be able to help people zero in on exactly what they want to do with their task system because there's
Yeah.
a lot of tech questions. Leslie,
Right.
I use this. Should I be using that? And I'm not a tech guru, but I can steer you absolutely in a
Yeah.
direction that will make it most effective for each person.
Yeah. Yeah. And can you remind the listeners what website that is that they can go to?
Yeah. Productiveday.com.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll put
Very
that in the
short,
show
short and
notes.
sweet, right?
So yes, yes. So awesome. I mean, I am so glad that you came back on because I feel like now this is so much more tangible for all the listeners is that they can have it. You're using it in the corporate world, but we can all use it in our daily lives. And this fast action formula is so easy and affordable for, pretty much everybody to take advantage of because $250 to save how many, countless hours and
Hours.
energy
Yeah.
and from
Yeah.
and stress, like sign
Yes.
up, we do
Right.
charges for that. Like
Yeah, and when they visit, the website, that we do still have those free resources that I mentioned last fall.
yeah,
So we have the
yeah,
Smart Steps, we have the quiz, we have special reports, so they can take advantage of that while they're there. And
Mhm.
those have lots of juicy information and strategies straight from Taskology, that they will benefit from, even if, they don't even want to get into the formula yet. But all of it's good, affordable, either free or affordable.
Yeah.
But it's all there right on our homepage. Yeah. Thank you
Awesome.
so much for having me back so that I
Yeah.
could share this with your listeners, because I wanted to make sure that they know that there's something they can do that is
Mhm.
easy, that gets
Right.
them into fast action.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Thank
as
you.
we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with? I mean, I just go do it. Just go check out productiveday.com, the free resources, start there, and then, really take advantage and look at the fast action formula because we all need to be more productive and have less stress in our lives.
Yeah. I'll just say, stop doing what doesn't work. Yeah. If you feel that frustration, if you feel that pull in your heart of hearts and you're like, God, this is whatever I'm doing, it used to work, but it's not working anymore, and it's not sustainable. And you're like, I can't do this one more day. If you kind of feel that, or you felt it sporadically, even in the past, it's a sign
Yeah.
that there's got to be a better way. And
Mhm.
oh, there is.
There is. Yeah, go check it out.
Exactly.
Start living a life a little bit more freedom of time and
Yes,
energy. So
absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Peggy.